Whatever an addict feels when heroin enters their bloodstream is probably not too dissimilar from the feeling I get when I'm presented with this. Now, I'm a musician myself, and I would never slander another instrument, unless that instrument just so happens to be a violin, in which case I'll say pretty much anything, including things like, a violin sounds worse than the screams from a burning orphanage and carries about as much street cred as the person who started the fire. Like and subscribe if you're a burnt orphan. No, I may not have the nicest things to say about the violin, emphasis on the vile bit there, but, slap my forearms and call me Beetle. If, I'd be amiss not to admit the fact that the violin plays a crucial role in the opening theme to this game, and what a welcome this game gives you. Now, although Wind Waker greets you with a warm embrace, this game was not shown the same compassion by a lot of Zelda fans. Although beloved by the community now, when it released back in 2002, fresh off the heels of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, it was met with a bit of an icy reception. Now, this reception might not have been entirely justified, but it was to some degree understandable. Back in the year 2000, during the Space World convention, Nintendo showcased a brief video designed to tease the capabilities of the upcoming GameCube. And in that video, there was this brief clip. After the success of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, it appeared that Nintendo would be continuing with this gritty, realistic look that had catapulted the Zelda franchise into an all-time high, and this style would permeate into the upcoming title. And yes, that was the same demo that also featured the dystopian and frankly quite terrifying Planet Mario that eventually made way for Super Mario Galaxy. So, a new Zelda game was on the cards, only this time it'd look even better, thanks to the superior performance of the GameCube. So fans eagerly awaited the release of the new, better-looking, more realistic Zelda game, and when that day finally came, they were greeted with this. Oh! It's fair to say it took people by surprise. This was almost a complete 180. Within, the space of a year, we've gone from 8K, 120 FPS Ocarina of Time to what is now called Toon Link. Its graphics were controversial, to say the least. Now, there's plenty of light-hearted, reflective takes out there. One user took to Reddit to respond to a post that had asked if anyone remembers the backlash that Wind Waker received. Remember it? I was part of the backlash. When Wind Waker was announced, I had just graduated high school and was deep in my not a little kid anymore phase, so I took the kiddie graphics as a personal insult. But after giving the game a go, seeing the cell shading in motion was a revelation. The trees moved with the wind, the waves crashed on the beach, the world was alive in a way that no previous Zelda game had ever been. I had to play it. I started my own save file the next day, and when I finished the Tower of the Gods and I saw what lay under the ocean, I realised that this was going to be a landmark in the series, and I'd been a fool to dismiss it. I got a lot of respect for people who can address faults within themselves and admit when they're wrong. I think it speaks a lot about your character, so I think that's a pretty PogChamp answer. That can't be said, however, for all. No, there were and still are some players who look at Wind Waker's graphics the same way that a bull might look at a red rag. It was actually hard to find a lot of evidence of the initial fallout, as over the years forums have closed. I would imagine a lot of players went back to revise or maybe even remove their initial takes on the game. And, a lot of the hysteria was eventually lost to the annals of time. I did, however, come across one individual who back in 2005 took to the Zelda Universe forums to voice his discontent with the game, and I think that this will give you a pretty good idea of, what Wind Waker's reception was like from certain areas of the fanbase. Link's look became more mature with each installment. Even the first Link wasn't meant to be a childish figure. However, Wind Waker was. It destroyed everything Zelda stood for. The Zelda series took 15 years to get as mature looking as it was. 15 years! Then Wind Waker came. That is my main problem with Wind Waker. All you Wind Waker fans must understand how I feel. Yes, we hated the graphics. So you say, well, graphics isn't everything. Did you see Link's facial expressions in Wind Waker? Yes, I saw Link's facial expressions in Wind Waker, and I was not impressed. I believe I could see better facial expressions in Majora's Mask. Okay, that's just not true. But even if it were impressive, it wouldn't undo the fact that Wind Waker took too drastic and unnecessary change. A lot of you Wind Waker fans are new to the Zelda series, so you don't mind the change, but for most pioneer Zelda fans, it was just not a good idea. This is why people who hate Wind Waker and what it did to the series. Finally, Twilight Princess is coming out, so the series is slowly rebuilding. I just want to see how Wind Waker fans react to this post. Not only that, but I want them to understand. Now, I want to make it very clear that having a negative opinion about Wind Waker is absolutely fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with voicing criticisms. In fact, that's actually very healthy. And if anything, I think that the Zelda fandom isn't actually very good at doing that at the moment. However, although this may be a singular example, I've chosen it because it is very indicative of the kind of response that Wind Waker received at the time. And although this is a very old post, I will still be leaving the original poster anonymous, as, you know, this isn't a witch hunt, but man, this is it's a rather entitled and narcissistic approach to criticizing a game, isn't it? Straight away with the first point, Link's look became more mature with each installment. Even the first Link wasn't meant to be a childish figure. I mean, he was 17. You know, not exactly a mature adult either. However, Wind Waker was. It destroyed everything Zelda stood for. I'm going to assume that that is hyperbole for the sake of a potent argument, but that is just categorically untrue. It destroyed everything Zelda stood for. The three pillars, the three main pillars of Zelda is power, wisdom, and courage. Everyone knows that. That is just as prevalent in Wind Waker as it is in any other Zelda game. But no, it destroyed everything Zelda stood for, apparently. This is a point that I somewhat addressed in my Breath of the Wild isn't a real Zelda game video, and that is the idea that no one decides what a Zelda game is or isn't other than the creators. I can't stand this mentality that some fans develop, and that is this, you know, I have consumed product, therefore I dictate product type attitude. He even refers to himself as a pioneer fan. First off,
what the hell is even that?
No, I'm sorry. Even if you played the very first Zelda game on its very first day of release, you are not a pioneer. The game developers, yes. You, the player, no. Let's just be real with each other. Let's just be honest for a moment. You went out, you rented a video game, and you played a video game. You did not pioneer anything. I could watch Porco Rosso 1,000,000 times. It doesn't make me an artistic genius. Or a flying pig. And not to be too pseudo-intellectual or try to make this seem deeper than it actually is, but this is in some way proof that history is always doomed to repeat itself. You know, you look back and you think, like, why did they persecute Galileo for his scientific beliefs? And it's because it doesn't matter how advanced society or its understanding becomes, there will always be a group of people that have nothing to offer. So rather than do something, they look at people who do have something to offer, they look at their ideas and say, that is different, so no. Gee, thanks guys. He's mauled because Zelda didn't continue to get progressively mature with each installment. Thank God it didn't. If it did, today, we'd be playing A Legend of Zelda, A Handrail to the Toilet. Or The Legend of Zelda Twilight Poop Fest. And funnily enough now, in 2023, Wind Waker's graphics are one of its best features. They've aged like Benjamin Button. And if you just happen to be running it on something that rhymes with Bolfin, on a modern screen, it even looks better than most games released in the last few years. And not only that, but Wind Waker's art style is treated by some as though it's the last of its species and must be protected at all costs. There was actually quite a sizable backlash back in 2013 when the HD remaster re-released. Some fans, they didn't like some of the lighting effects and said that it detracted and spoiled the original feel of the game. I also remember last year seeing this Wind Waker fan film that a guy had made showing you what Wind Waker might look like if it was made in the Unreal Engine. It looked great. It was a really nice little fan project. Of course, that didn't stop the based Zelda fans. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. This is worse than Wind Waker HD. And of course, my personal favourite. Amazing work, but Wind Waker HD is the best version out there, and the art style isn't to be messed with. It's a fan-made video though, and yes, although it was made in Unreal Engine, the guy didn't remake the entire game. It's just a little bit of fan art. That's it. And then this reply as well. Finally, someone said it. You were waiting for someone to say that? Not to discredit the hard work the creator had put into this though. It just doesn't fit the art style Nintendo was going for. It wasn't made by Nintendo. This is a fan-made film. The point I'm trying to make is in some ways we've gone from one extreme to the other. We've gone from fans hating and rejecting the art style to loving it so much that we can't even enjoy fan art at this point, apparently. It's funny how over the last couple of decades, Wind Waker's graphics have gone from the cause of one of the biggest uproars in Zelda fandom history to one of the most beloved things. It's a funny old fan base, eh? I think it's also important to point out that I am not biased when it comes to Wind Waker. Nope. It's safe to say that although it got off to a rocky start, Wind Waker, I can happily say now, has found its footing in the Zelda fandom and is now considered a treasured edition. Now just before I go, if you are one of these people who think that something has to remain the same in order to be good or to satisfy your taste, those thoughts, although mostly stupid, are not invalid. You are more than welcome to them. But more often than not, you are playing into a crowd that has been around since the dawn of man, and that is one that seeks to impede innovation and creativity through a lack of introspection and ability. Now that's not to say that all change is automatically good or indeed warranted, but innovation to some degree is always necessary, and for that to happen, artists need to be allowed to make their own decisions and to make risks like these. The truth is, if people like you were given the reins to projects like these, entertainment would crumble under the monumental weight of your ineptitude. Sometimes it's okay to just be a gamer. It's quite fun. Do Zelda video every week. I'll see you in the next one. But until then, take care of yourselves, guys.
Bye!